life is just tough sometimes. You can still show up. You can still be happy. You can still find success. It doesn't mean you're not going to have moments or days or weeks or months that are extremely hard. But what's the alternative?
Right.
Giving up, quitting, sitting your life on the couch, wallowing away. I don't want that either.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, what's the alternative? What's up, guys? Welcome to our channel, or welcome back to our channel. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Jeff. This specific episode, we are going to be diving into a topic that I don't think a lot of people talk a lot about. It's inevitable. It's going to happen to everybody. Tay and I are going to be walking through and talking through our experience with handling or dealing with grief, because in life, it's inevitable that you're going to lose people you care about. And, you know, that's something that Tay and I have experienced a lot of. Tay more so, a lot more recently. But again, it's inevitable. We're all going to experience at some point in time. There's going to be people you care about that you lose. So how do you handle that? What do you do when that happens? And, you know, just we're going to be walking through a lot of, you know, how we handled it, what we did. And by no means is what we did perfect. Did we handle it perfectly? I have no idea. But yeah, we're getting through it and working through it. And, you know, that's something that we wanted to share, because our thought process was, if we can talk about it, maybe it helps someone else get through the grieving process for someone that they lost, that they cared about. And, you know, that's always our goal. If we can help one person with these videos, with these YouTube channels, all this stuff, then we're doing
YouTube
what we're
channels.
Here for. Sound like I'm 30 years old. You know, I'm definitely aging myself. Gotta get on the YouTube and tell our story.
Well, yeah, I mean, so, dude, I feel like this is a topic. I mean, I've been very open about, you know, my experiences the last couple of years, but obviously, as much as I share, there's so much that I don't talk about. And I haven't really spent time to sit down and like talk through it. And even probably still, like, there's just so much that I'm going to continue to learn about myself, about just life. And I think it is a good just to talk through it, talk about it, because I mean, like you said, everyone experiences grief at some point in their life. Unfortunately, I have experienced quite a bit of it in just the last couple of years. And it's very strange, I feel, to experience so much grief at our age, like in just in our life so far. But I mean, I know I never try to compare it, because obviously, you know.
Yeah, there's no point. And that's a huge, I feel like that's a huge lesson that we could spend an entire episode talking about as well. Is like comparing yourself to other people. But struggle is relevant, and that's something that we've been on the same page with for a really long time. It doesn't matter, you know, your story and the things that you're going through are hard to you, and that's all that matters. How do you persevere through hard things? Yep. My hard may be completely different than yours, but doesn't mean mine's harder or yours is harder. It means that we're both going through hard things. How do you persevere through hard things? And I think grief is one of those things that, yeah, you could put a measuring stick on, well, I lost this person, or I lost this many people, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Grief sucks. Like, losing people sucks. It hurts. It's hard. What's hard? Like, it doesn't matter. You lose more people, that's harder maybe to you. I don't know, right? Right. It doesn't matter. It's hard. How do you get through that? And I think a big part of what I would like to, you know, dive into a little bit with you, because again, you've had a very, if you look at professionally and, you know, your social media and all these things, like, you've had a very successful last couple of years, right? And with that, you know, you've gone through a lot through those years. So I think that's a good thing for us to unpack a little bit and dive into mindset towards, you know, what you were focused on during those times, going through those periods of grief, but still managing to get things done, still managing to show up and, you know, not losing all of your momentum and those things. Because I think those are areas that can really help other people going through grief, where you don't hit that downward spiral and hit rock bottom, right? You catch yourself before you hit the bottom. Yeah. And I think that's a really big aspect of success, growth. It's not linear, right? It's not just a straight, perfect line that goes, you know, straight to the top. There's, you know, peaks and valleys. You go up, you fall. You go up, you fall. But the idea is that every time you grow out of falling, you grow higher than you were previously, right? That's that building capacity we've talked a lot about.
Before really taking a deep dive, getting a good overview of just the last couple of years. So in 2020, you know, lost my grandma that was like was at every sporting event, everything like that. Lost her. Then a year after that, mom gets diagnosed with leukemia at the age 47. And then less than a year from the time she was diagnosed, we lost her. And in that same week that we lost her, within just a matter of a couple of days, we lost my great grandma. And then less than a year after that, we lost my uncle, my mom's brother, who was, young 50, so still way too young. And obviously they're very close. He stood by her side through all of her treatments and all of that kind of stuff. So it's just been a lot of very close family members back to back to back to back, 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 back. And so just a lot of loss, a lot of grief, and just trying to navigate life. The last couple years specifically have been really, really tough. And I know even before that, we've experienced a lot of loss. Like it for some reason seems like it happens back to back, but just, do you want to dive into like your overview?
Yeah. I mean, very similar. When I was really young, I lost my grandma. I think I was 13, and she was, we were tight. We were really, really tight, and I was her favorite. I'm just be honest. Yeah, it was obvious. I was her favorite, and she was an incredible woman. But I lost her very young, and that was, my first initial experience with like really, really severe grieving. That was someone very close to me that, at a young age I lost, and that really was something that I learned a lot from over the years. At the time, it was one of the hardest things absolutely I'd ever gone through. But, and then several years later, into my adult life, I lost my uncle, who was like a father figure to me, was, someone who guided me, taught me so much, and it just calling him an uncle didn't even feel right. He literally was like a dad. And then that same week, I lost my other grandma, who was, very similar. So supportive, always at sporting events, going out of her way to, make our lives and share memories and stories and teach us things. And, she taught me so much about, it's where my love for like gardening and plants and things like that comes from. So very close, very, very close to her as well. And learned so many things from that woman. Incredible woman as well. But those are, three of the biggest losses in my life that were just, like you said, they were back to back, the last two. And it was through pivotal points of our life as well. Being an adult and losing people is hard because you do have a life that you have to continue to sustain. As a kid, when I was 13, 14, it's like, okay, I have
have
to
no
go to
responsibilities.
School, what do I have to really worry about other than just not being sad all the time? As an adult, you have people to take care of. You have families in a lot of cases. You have responsibilities that continue to go on. The world continues to turn regardless of what you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really, really impactful, and I want to say it in this manner because it almost sounds like it's heartless, but it's the truth. The world is heartless. It's going to continue to turn. Mm-hmm. Business continues to run. All of these things continue to go. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what happens to you. And I understood that at a young age. And, through that process, I think, again, that's why that's one of the biggest things I want to dive into here, because I think now both of us have experienced so much of that. And not that it gets easier, but it gets easier to understand. And I think that allows you to be productive, to continue to move forward, to continue to progress while experiencing grief. So,
right. Well, and I mean, you said it earlier, but we by all means, like, yes, do we have a lot of experience in this category, unfortunately, but do we know the perfect suggestion? No.
All we can do is share.
Yeah, we're right. I mean, what we want to do is just share our experience for those of you that have gone through this and don't feel alone, or maybe for someone that is going to have to deal with this. Like, I hate that people can relate to it. But it's just a part of life, unfortunately, and it really doesn't feel real a lot of the times. And exactly what you said that's one of the hardest things, is that the world goes on, and it doesn't feel like it should sometimes, because you just feel like it's weird. Like, even just, laughing and having fun, like, I feel like guilty for that. Mm-hmm. And and grief is just weird in a lot of ways. Like for me, I mean, I'm sure for everyone, it really does hit you at random times. Like one of the weirdest things is like when you go to text somebody or call somebody and you can't because they're gone. And it does not feel real. Honestly, this seems very weird. In the moment, like I was really focusing, like when you're talking about initial shock, and it does not seem real. And it is the most gut-wrenching, like horrible feeling ever. But I just kept focusing on like what I need to do today. And I felt in the moment, and this is just like looking back now as it's coming up on a year, in the moment, I mean, I knew I was in pain, but I knew I had to keep showing up for work. I mean, that's just, you have to, and that's the sucky part of life. But you had to keep showing up for work, and I knew that. And so I kept showing up, and I kept, trying to do the best that I could. One of the hardest parts about showing up for my job specifically is a lot of my job revolves around social media. And it's not just my job of why I want to show up. I genuinely want to show up because the community that I've built, like on my mom's last birthday ever, I was trying to think of a way, because it was the stupid, rules where we couldn't go visit.
Right.
And so I was trying to think of a way, how can I make this birthday special? How can I make how can I wow her? And my thought was, how cool would it be for her to genuinely know how much support she has? And so I asked people on my Instagram, I gave them the address to the hospital, and I, told them the situation, and I told everyone that they could write her a birthday card. And for 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks, she was getting multiple cards a day, every single day. And it really just lit a fire under her to where she crushed the rest of her treatment, got out, was doing so well. It really did make a difference in her mentality. And she said it gave her hope. And she felt like people really cared about her. And she never really had experienced that much support ever. And for me, my thought process is, okay, if people are willing to show up for me, and that's inconvenient, everyone has a million things going on, that I can show up for somebody else, because I know that as hard as it is for me to show up sometimes, and as hard it is for me to share my story or share my struggles, I know that it could potentially help somebody else get through it and not feel so alone. And for me, that's worth it. Yeah. And
I want to stop you right there, because I think it's important to note that, when you talk about building a community, and I remember, you going through the process of, posting on social media and talking about this, her birthday coming up, and the response from that was overwhelming. It was so much more than we expected. We thought maybe
get a
few cards would come through, maybe 10, 12, but there were hundreds of cards written to her. And like you said, they came in multiple a day for weeks, almost over a month.
There were days that she got 12, 15 cards in one single day for weeks on end.
Yeah. I remember, the FaceTimes and her just, being so excited. And I think that, to pause on that point right there, I think that's such a critical piece to lean on during that period. Is there's so many people out there that need support. Every day something happens to someone, and most of the time we have no idea. Most of the time, unless you know that person directly or you get to spend time with them directly, you have no idea what they're going through. And like you said, it is inconvenient to stop what you're doing, or take extra time out of your day to write a card, and but the goodness of people is why they did that.
Yep.
And I think that's that's an incredible part of that story that is, something we'll never forget, for sure.
That was truly one of the biggest reasons why I kept showing up. And also because this is an important thing to remember too, for those of you that have lost someone that you love. is and this is something I've told myself over and over and over again, is one of the things that my mom loved so much. I mean, because she's one of the moms that like literally, like, I remember she was in the middle of her like leukemia treatment, like bone marrow transplant, which is extremely painful. This whole process was horrible. And this was less than 2 months before she passed away. And I got my wisdom teeth out. And I, was like, I was like all complaining because it was, my wisdom teeth. She's going through like lost all of her hair at this point. Really just, I know how painful and horrible it is. And she's texting me saying that she wished she could be here taking care of me.
Yeah.
So she was that kind of mom, right? Yeah. Her important thought that I would always think every single time, every single day, every single moment that I struggled, I would think, what would she want? One of her favorite things was to watch, our funny videos. And she thought they were the most hilarious thing ever. When I'd post really just about anything, she would love it. And she just thought everything was great. She would love this much. Our YouTube channel, she would be like right by my, like my dad, on Sunday, every morning, watching every single thing. Like she would 1000% be like that. And so I know for a fact that as guilty as I am sometimes for showing up on my social media and laughing and smiling, and in real life, like laughing and smiling, like as guilty as I feel for being like silly and goofy and happy, I know that is exactly like what she would want.
I remember I don't know where this quote came from, but it's so impactful, and I think it's really relevant to that point you just made. And it's something along the lines of the pain that we feel from losing someone is the price we pay for the amount of love we received. She would absolutely want you to continue moving forward, to progress and accomplish as much as you can. Like, and she did, even the time she was sick. Like, she didn't want us to worry about her. She didn't want any of that. Like, she just wanted us to keep doing our thing. And I do think that that's very impactful message you just shared, because it's that the guilt that you feel, in all reality, like, I know you feel it because I completely understand, because I feel it, felt it. But you shouldn't have that. You really shouldn't. And I think that's one of the hardest parts of dealing with grief, is like dealing with the guilt that you feel from continuing your life because they don't get to, and I think that's it's hard, but I think even more so, you have to reframe the way you look at that and think of it exactly that same way though. You get to continue your life. So what are you going to do? It paints the picture so clearly of how precious life is and how fast we lose it.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, you can have no more chances, no more opportunities. And I know for a fact, all of us, me, you, every single one of you guys that are watching and listening, there's been moments where we haven't taken full advantage of the opportunities that we have. And I think that, going into my point earlier, I really do think that's a mindset that you've really embodied over these last few years. And, because of the loss and because of the reminder of how short life can be, it's really inspired you to go all in, to go take every moment that you can and make the most of it. And, I've got the opportunity to watch and witness you do that. And it's honestly inspired the hell out of me, and I think that's such a, that's why I love you. It's why one of the things I've always loved about you is you're relentless. You have a freaking drive. You're a motor, and it's always been something that's just really, really impressed me. And these last few years, you have dug deep, and you've grown so much. And I think it's incredible. Really is. I know she would be so proud.
At her funeral, everyone shared stories about her and like what they loved most about her and fun memories, and everything was revolved around how she impacted people to truly feel special and feel important and feel loved and cared for and like supported and appreciated. And like that is what I don't think I'm going to get through this whole thing. that is what genuinely motivates me every single day to get up and do all the things that I do, whether it be in person, to my people I get to spend. I gotta pull it together. Which people are probably going to be surprised because I do not do this ever.
I think I've seen you cry like 3 times my entire time with you.
Yeah, it's just been an emotional week, really.
Yeah.
But that genuinely is what drives me, is that like I want to honor her, and that's what gets me to like get up and like do these things, no matter how hard it is, no matter how frustrating, like no matter how I get down on everything. And I genuinely miss her so much. And I know people watching this are thinking about, you know, their loved ones and like the things they loved about them. And the biggest thing I can say is the best thing you can do is take those qualities that you love so much about them and do that for the people around you. Do that for everybody that you can, because that's a way that you can honor them. That's a way that you can, you know, take what you learn from them, take how they made you feel, and go out and replicate it. And that's what's helped me grow so much as a person and help pull that side of me out. And I truly think it's made me a better person, because I take all of my best qualities and all of her best qualities, and now I have 2 people's best qualities, and I can really go out, and I genuinely want everyone to know like what their opportunity is. I want to make that impact where I make the people around me better. I make them feel supported and appreciated and loved and cared for and heard and all these things, because that's how I felt, and I want to be able to do that for other people. And I mean, that I can take Granny Shine, I can take, you know, I mean, I have even more people that I didn't even name off that I lost.
Right.
You know, my best friend's mom, like I can take qualities of her. I think about these people all of the time. I think about your family, and that's the thing that people, you know, have been watching us can probably know, is that since we grew up together, even though you're talking about your loss in your family and I'm talking about my loss in my family, like
That's our family.
It's our family. Mm-hmm. So like I think about them all the time, and the lessons I learned from Pete, and the lessons I learned from you know, Nana, and the lessons I've learned from everyone that, you know, we've really unfortunately lost and everything. And so that is a huge, just a big thing for me, that how I can get up and do all the things that I do, because like you mentioned, this has been the hardest couple of years of my entire life, for good reason. Yeah. I mean, seeing, you know, and experiencing that pain from yourself and the people around you and the people that you love, and like you miss them so much. But my nose running.
I like the way you put that, and that was one of the biggest takeaways I've had in life in a really long time was, you know, at your mom's funeral, that, you know, there were so many laughs at that funeral, which is weird to say, right? Mm-hmm. But it's because there were so many amazing stories shared about her that really did just replicate like who she was. Mm-hmm. It showed exactly, you know, we were laughing so hard, you know, for almost the entire time, because everyone had a story that was, you know, it was laugh and then cry and then laugh and then cry, but because everyone had a story about her that you know, you couldn't help but laugh at, because she was that person, always made you feel incredible. And, you know, I see so much of her in you and who you're becoming. And, you know, I think that's such an incredible point, because these last few years, you have completely, again, embodied all of that. So that's really cool. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah, well, and
it's a good reminder.
I mean, and I don't say it every single day, or like, I think people forget sometimes that, you know, like, I mean, there's a lot I didn't share through that experience. even the year leading up to, you know, her passing away. And it's still to this day, like I can speak on it all I want, but it doesn't even feel real some days. Mm-hmm. And it feels like I'm living in a movie of somebody else's life. And like, I know people that have experienced something similar probably feel the same exact way. And it really doesn't matter how young or old you are. It's just tough. It's hard. Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, whether I think, you know, I've experienced like it happening suddenly out of nowhere, and I've experienced the pain and the suffering leading up to that, and neither of them are easy. One of the biggest things dealing with grief is knowing that you're not alone, and knowing that you're not the only one experiencing this, because the pain is so painful that sometimes you're like, there's no way I'm the only one that feels this, because how does anybody get anything done? I think it's important, like, to know that you're not alone, and to be reminded of that, and remember like kind of the lessons that we talked about, but also I think you have to sit in it sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think you have to just really feel those things, and it's hard, and it sucks, and it's this weird, and people will know what I'm talking about, and you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's this weird thing when you're going through grief, where especially when, you know, you're on social media, or when you're just talking to people, and other people want to make you feel better and feel consoled, but then you feel like you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. So it's this weird thing where you're almost trying to make the people around you feel comfortable, mm-hmm. because you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. And so then you almost like, at least for me, like a lot of time I just kind of, I had to just keep, showing up, and I didn't want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. So I just had to, you know.
No, I know what you mean. And I think that it being on social media during times like that makes it more difficult, because there is a moment where you do just kind of want to embrace it and, you know, almost said accept it, which is kind of what it is like you have to come face to face with it and address it. And I think that allows you to be more clear-headed and level-headed on how to move forward. Mm-hmm. Because the more that you know, like you've said several times, and I know exactly what you mean, where it just doesn't feel real, right? But it is. And the more that you can get comfortable with the fact that it is real, the faster you can move past it. And it, again, that almost sounds bad, but I don't mean move past it as in like go and forget about it and it never happened. But again, we talked about earlier, the world continues to go, and you have to continue to press forward in your daily life as well, just like you said, because your mom would want that for us, your grandma would want that for us, like my Nana, my Uncle P, like all of them they want us to go win and be successful. And I think that, again, the way you said that, of take the things that you loved about them and embody them yourself, I think that's, you know, really, I think that's one of the purposes of life, is to be able to learn from the people that you admire and embody the values that they were able to share with you. Because every experience that you have with someone, like the things that I experienced with your mom are going to be similar, but I learned things from her that you didn't learn because of the different experience, right? And I think that that's another great way to look at it. Like, how many incredible lessons, incredible character traits and things like that did she empower other people with, that, you know, she continues to live on through us embodying the things that we loved about her. Coming face to face with the fact that it did happen. Now, embrace it, move forward, embody those things, and continue to share those memories with other people you care about. Let those things you learned for her kind of pass down through the generations, if you would. Like, how many people do you get to be in contact with, and, you know, how many people watch these videos? Those things that you're embodying right now, people are going to be able to learn from you, right? So there's a wave of wisdom that you're able to share by doing that, other than just trying to avoid constantly, and I'm guilty of this, trying to constantly avoid the thoughts and avoid the process of, okay, that never happened, right? You just block it out. But if you block it out, then you don't get to embody those things. You have to think about those people. You have to remind yourself of who they were, what they stood for, how they lived their lives, what they taught you, so that you can continue teaching those lessons to other people around you.
And on the dichotomy of that, you can't sit in it for too long.
Right.
Because that's also really dangerous. Like, You can't completely avoid it. You have to spend that time, you know, feeling those feelings and getting it out, because holding it all in is not good.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot sit in it too long, because you can't let it sit. You can't sit in it so long that it destroys you, and that it completely, you know, destroys your happiness, and you're taking away from all the people that are still here, and the potential of the people that you can impact while you're still here. That's one of the things for me. And really what I try to focus on whenever, like, because we kind of talked about like the last 2 years have been the hardest years of my life, but I've also seen the most growth in my career. And how does those two things coincide? I don't know, because sometimes I look and I'm like, how the heck have I done it? But I think it's a good mixture of really like sitting in my feelings, and like, you know, and also I'm so beyond grateful for the people that I have around me. It's truly amazing. Like the people that we work with, the people in our life, our friends, our family.
Yeah.
I am extremely grateful for the people that we have. You can't let it set in so long that it completely destroys you and derails your life, because they wouldn't want that either.
Right.
And I mean, everyone's going to deal with grief differently. Everyone's going to have a different situation and a different experience. And there's so many different things that could happen. So I mean, again, I know this is a really sensitive subject, and I don't want anybody to think, oh, my way is the only way, because ask me a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know. It could be different. I do think that it has to be a mixture between sitting in it. And it doesn't mean like just at the beginning, like you're going to have random moments that it hits you, and you have to like know that that's just part of it, part of life. But you also have to be able to function as a human still. And
you have a life to live.
You do. Figuring out what's truly important and how can I take action on that. Right. Because it's one thing to know, it's another thing to do.
Right.
And so for me, I did spend a lot of time of like, okay, what's actually important? You know, what do I need to focus on? Where does my time and attention need to go? And it is actually kind of crazy, but through this experience, I feel more confident in myself. I feel more confident in what I believe in, more confident in what's important to me. And honestly, the things that I used to, I mean, I kind of touched on this in a different episode. I didn't get specific, but I talked about, you know, how I overreacted to a lot of things. And then unfortunately, like when truly bad things actually happen, you realize how the little things aren't so bad. And so I think you can take certain lessons from this experience and grow as a human if you choose to,
right?
If you allow that. And I mean, there's nothing I can do to change it. And so I just try to, you know, do the best that I can. And I try to do the things that I think she would love. Yeah. And I know she would love this. Absolutely. I know she would love this. Yeah. And so that's what I keep choosing to do. And when I think when I focus on those things that are truly important and that are truly making an impact or are truly connecting with people, I think that's something that really has helped me grow my career, like, because I really focus on that, and a lot of things just simply are important to me that don't align with those things.
I was 13 when I lost my grandma, and that was tragic. Just honestly broke me, and I think that's relevant because that was a long time ago. I'm almost 30,
but I mean, it's still.
But I think what you said earlier, like you may look back 5 years from now, 10 years from now and be different. And absolutely you will. Because obviously I was very young, but how I viewed that then, I took it very hard. But now looking back, that point in my life was such a transition. And going through that then 100% put me on the path to become who I am today. And like you said, when you experience things like that was something that I learned early on, is like things could be much worse than what they are. You know, okay, this didn't go my way. Well,
It could be
It's been
worse.
a lot worse,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's, you guys always, give me shit about my positive attitude and always
Yeah.
finding the bright side. And I think that, that's a massive part of where that came from. As a kid, I what else did I have to do, except for look for the things that made me happy. So like in every situation now, I have this natural ability, I would call it, to find the positives. And,
Yeah.
so I want to put that in there as a token to remind you that in the moment when I was 13, I had a very hard time with that. Like I was the only, one of the only times in my life where I've actually, I would consider myself suicidal. And, it was really hard, but now 15, 17 years later, whatever that is, terrible math. Those moments are extreme reminders of how great life can be, because they were so hard then, but going through them at such a young age has allowed me to focus on the positives for the last almost 20 years. And life's incredible when you focus on the positive things around you. There's so much, and I think social media does a terrible job for the majority with this. Is it's so quick to point out the negatives and the bad and the wrongs, when every single day there are millions of things that happen on social media that are great, that are positive, and we overlook them. And that's again, going back to my original point, is what you're going through right now is going to be very, very, very hard. You're going to have hard days, hard weeks, hard months. You're going to have days that are your lowest you may have ever felt. But you keep pushing through them, and you keep persevering and focusing on the future and the things we talked about. What can you do to embody these values to make other people, happy and successful, and these things? You're going to look back in 5 years and you're going to be so thankful for that. And you're going to look back in 10 years and you're going to realize what that lesson was. You're going to realize what it meant to you, why you learned it, and how it's helped you get you to where you are. We're not psychologists. We're not professionals in this by any means. It's just one of our goals in social media has always been to be as authentic as possible and share the truth. And I feel like there's been a lot of this that we haven't been very vocal about. Like, because a lot of you guys have known it's happened, but we haven't talked about how we've dealt with it or how we processed it. Because honestly, we were trying to figure it the fuck out.
And we still are. I mean,
yeah,
it's just tough.
And I think honestly, this is a part of that. Like, we talked about this today, and like, we wanted to share some of this stuff because we understand that it is going to help some of you, and it's going to help us. So my experience through this process has been to just be as supportive as possible and be there. And I would say the best way to summarize this is to do my best to show that I'm there through my actions, not my words.
Yes.
And I think that that's, if it were to happen again, I would do it exactly the same way, because there's nothing I can say. Nothing I can say. I know that, right? Through experience, I know you can tell me anything that you want, and it's not going to make me feel better. It's going to hurt, right? But I can be there. I can do things. I can show my love, show my support, and whatever that looks like, it's going to be different per individual, right? Mm-hmm. That's again one of the reasons I love understanding the love language. Knowing what's important to you has helped me be as supportive as possible to you. Right? Quality time, making sure that I'm spending time with you. We're doing things together. I'm prioritizing us, the acts of service, and making sure that I'm doing as much as I can to be helpful around the house, because I know you have a lot on your plate. I know you have a lot on your mind. There's so many things that yeah. Are running through your head. You don't need to worry about, vacuuming or doing the dishes, or, it's not that I do all of that.
Right.
By no means. Like, we still part that, but I try to step up my role in that, try to be more supportive through doing those things, because I know those are the things that are important to you. So that would be, that's been my mindset through all of this, is just try to show my support, not, again, say things or, comforting and consoling absolutely is a part of that process, but what you do is more important.
Right. And also, me, and for anybody that knows me, like, I actually had people at work concerned because I just kept showing up and didn't really.
Oh, they're still concerned. They don't quite understand yet, but
yeah,
I assure them you're okay.
Do people talk to you?
I get some questions here and there.
Like still?
Yeah.
Of like, why is she
Well,
so
just
positive or what?
how? No, not really. Just how's she doing? You know, like
Yeah.
just wanted to continuously check in and making sure you're okay, because you're not an easy person to read for most people. You do a great job of, you know, hiding your emotions, and you know, not a lot of people see. They don't know. They know you're going through hard things, and I think that they know that you're hiding it, or not that you're hiding. They know that you're holding it in. They know that you're doing it because to protect. I don't know why you do it either, but you're strong. Either. You know, you do it and you get things done, and I understand that, and I know that there's nothing I can do to stop you from doing that. Yeah. So the best thing that I can do is to support you and be there for you along the way. And when you want to talk about it, if you want to talk about it, we'll sit down, we'll talk about it. We'll share stories, whatever you want to do, right? But until then, I mean, I can't force you. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to try. That wouldn't do any good. And, you know, they're the same way. They just, they want to make sure you're okay, but also don't need to bring it up if it doesn't need to be brought up, you know? Yeah. So I think I'm a safe way of going around and making sure that you're okay, because there's a lot of people, everyone there cares a lot about you. And, you know, it's not that they don't see why you're not sad. They know you're sad, but they just know that you're strong enough to hold it together. And they want to make sure that you are okay behind closed doors, you know, when you're out of the office, when you're not around people, when you're not there, like they just want to make sure you're still okay.
That is crazy to me a little bit, because I feel that like people just forget that it happened and they think that I'm just totally fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fine, but it's like every day is a struggle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I mean, those are things like, I don't want people coming up to me and asking me all the time if I'm fine, but sometimes I'm like, and I know other people might feel this way, but like, sometimes I'm like, man, am I crazy that this is still like something I think about every single day?
Dude, no. Like I said, it's been 17 years, I think. I don't know exactly, but it's been a long time since I lost my grandma. And I mean, you know this, I talk about her all the time still. Like there's very few days that go by that genuinely, not just saying this, but there's very few days that go by that some way, shape, or form, that woman doesn't pop in my head. Yeah. Almost 20 years later.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. And I want to have that impact on other people too. Mm. Because it's just, it's crazy. Like I don't know if it's something where I just don't like to deal with my feelings, or I just have a lot of stuff going on, but I really don't. I mean, yeah, because I mean, even at work, like I just get up, I just go do, and like it's tough.
Look, the thing with you, people process emotions differently, right? Again, I'm not a psychologist, but I do enjoy learning about this stuff, and I try to learn a lot about it. But people process emotions differently. Like it makes me funny because we'll watch a movie and I'm the one crying. Like it's a love movie and they break up, but I'm like, I'm getting emotional, and you're just over there like, stop being a wimp. I'm like, it's sad, you know? Yeah. I'm a very emotional person, right? I feel emotions very strongly, and it's not that you don't feel them strongly, but it's that you don't express them. And I think that honestly, my personal opinion is that how you cope is how you cope. And can you have healthier coping habits? Absolutely. Anybody can.
Yeah, we all can.
Right.
Yeah.
But I look at emotion as a blessing, no matter good, bad, and different. Like being able to feel sadness and to look at it as an opportunity to recognize how blessed you are to feel that way. Like I said earlier, feeling the pain of sadness is a correlation to how much you care about something, right? Yeah. Because if you lose something, you didn't care about it, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't feel bad. There's no pain. There's no emotion to that, right? Yeah. But when you lose something that you care about, there is a correlation to that you feel something from that, right? So it's a blessing. It's a good thing. That's a way to look at how much you cared about someone. So I try to take these emotions and let them process, and I'll cry, you know. Turn the shower on and get in the shower, and I'll do my little shower cry every now and then.
My little shower cry.
It's a thing, all right? But in those moments, I'm not necessarily crying because I'm sad. I'm crying to process how I feel, and I want to be able to understand. I want to be able to feel those things. I don't want to block them and hide them, and I want to feel them. I want to feel the pain.
I feel like that's growth for you.
It is, because
you're someone that runs from that.
100%. And that's, I feel like I've become a much happier person within the last 3 to 5 years because of that exact thing.
Which is crazy because we've had like the hardest times, but you have to go through that, I feel. Well,
and I'm not saying, again, that is not advice. That is just simply,
that's just your experience.
What I've done and how I've gone through things. It's like, I used to blunt emotion, block it, gone, doesn't exist. If it's sad, if it's negative, it's back in the safe and it's locked up. I don't even know where the key's at. Right?
Yeah.
But that stuff builds up, the safe gets full, and eventually, like, you have no choice but to feel it, right? So when you feel it, and you allow yourself, in my opinion, you allow yourself to process it when you feel it, it's way easier to manage, way easier to deal with, and there's a reward to that at the end. Like, I feel better afterwards. I understand. It's more clear. So,
well, and there's a quote that I really, and I love it, and I've shared it a few times, but it's just because they carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy.
Yeah.
And
that's a
fact.
If you look that up in the definition, should just be Taylor.
Yes. I mean, I can't say that about myself because I don't know if I carry it well, but I mean, I do. I think I struggle more than I show.
Yeah. You definitely do.
And to me, I'm like, well, it doesn't help anything. And I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. And to me, I'm like, oh, I have to get these things done anyways. So I just kind of turn it off, I guess. I don't know. And then, I mean, I have my little moments for myself, like the shower cry, the shower cry thing. But it'll hit you at different times too. Like, there'll just be moments where I'll just be sitting there and everything's fine. And then I like, and I think I can get through saying this, but there was like, a random video that I came across, and I was showing somebody at work, a video of me surprising my sister at her military graduation, her Army graduation. And it was a video of me like surprising my sister, and I was showing this to someone at work. And while I was showing it to her, I saw like my mom in the background, like just so giddy, like just over the moon excited. And I mean, she was that way about everything, like literally about everything, just over the moon excited. And that was the first time I'd seen like a video, cause she just didn't have a lot of videos. And it was the first time I'd seen a video of her since she passed away. And this was a long time ago, but I saw that and I just saw her emotions and all these different things. And it was just like, man, I miss that. But it was like a gut punch in the gut. And I just remember like tearing up and then thinking like I just had to like suck it back in and then like, okay, I'll just deal with that later. I'll just put that in the safe and deal with it later. But I don't know. I don't think I did. And that's why I think I don't remember a lot of last year because of that. Yeah. Like I genuinely don't remember.
They're locked in the safe.
Yeah. And
they're just locked in the safe.
Yeah. And I think that I haven't fully dealt with it and like those things and like.
And you don't have to right now.
No. And like, that's just, I think that's part of it is it's like, it's that hard. Yeah. Like it's so hard that I have to deal with it little bits moments. At a time. Yeah. Because it's just too much. Like it would be debilitating. And this is where I can't give advice. But what I can do is hopefully help somebody
know that you're not alone if you feel that way.
Yes. And also help somebody know that you like, and when I'm talking about, like when we talk about success and all this stuff and we tie this piece in, it doesn't mean shove away all our emotions to be successful. It just means we all have struggles in our life. And for you, it might not be grief. Maybe you're grieving a relationship with somebody. All different kinds of struggles. Maybe you're grieving who you once were and now you're becoming somebody else. Like, it doesn't, like, we all have different struggles and we all have different levels of hard and we all go through shit. And the message that I want to get across is not that it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. Put it away and just like work. What I want to get across is that we can all go through struggle. We can all feel pain. We can all have like bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Circumstances are not going to be ideal. But how can you show up for yourself? How can you show up for the people around you? How can you just keep going through all of that pain and suffering to maximize the life that you get?
Yeah.
And that's the message that I want to get across, is not that these things don't matter, you shouldn't feel this way, but we are all going to deal with some level of pain and struggle. But I hate to see that take away someone's life, meaning the quality of life,
right.
the opportunity of life, the potential that everyone has, and know that like you can still make a difference even when you're going through pain.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going through pain. And even this conversation, like, we're not going to be able to dive into everything. I'm not going to be able to like
right.
open up about everything. But I hope that through this conversation, it helps somebody else not feel so alone, or it helps somebody else show up today or tomorrow a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're struggling, even though they're going through a mental battle, even though life is just tough sometimes, that you can still show up. You can still be happy. You can still find success. And it doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't mean you're not going to have moments or days or weeks or months that are extremely hard. But what's the alternative?
Right.
Giving up, quitting, sitting your life on the couch, wallowing away. I don't want that either.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, what's the alternative? And that's like my thought process is, I know that that's not what any of our loved ones would want.
Right.
And how do you keep showing up even though you have so much heartache, so much pain? Like, you can still do it. And like, it doesn't mean everything's going to be okay. It just means that, you know, that strength and fortitude that you have to develop for those people, or for the people that are around you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what keeps me going. It was actually funny. I made a post about struggling. Some, you know, days are harder than others. Some days it's easier than others, just how it is. And I was having a really tough day, and I just I made a post on Instagram about how I've been struggling, and there were so many people that left such genuine comments that it really made me feel like I was doing a good job honoring mom and like living life, exemplify the things that the person who she was. And I just was reading the comments on Instagram and had a breakdown. And during the breakdown, you know, Karma's over here like trying to console me. It's so cute. It was really sweet. But secondarily to that, I was overwhelmed. They were happy tears of gratitude of how many amazing people that we have in our life. Like, genuinely, like the fact that, I know this seems silly, but to me, I'm like, the fact that someone's reading my post, taking time, leaving a genuine comment, like a genuine comment.
Yeah.
That was so impactful for me, because I just was overwhelmed with gratitude of like, I can't, like, every single person, and it was the person, and not just the comment, but I know that person and the connection and relationship I have with that person. Yeah. And the fact that like, and everyone, you know, should know this, whether we've just met you once, whether you've left a comment, whether we've been friends for years, or anything in between, we care so deeply about every person. And I know you and I talk about this all the time, but I never want that to lose sight. Like, I don't care about followers, I care about likes. I don't care about the surface level side of social media.
Right.
And although I don't get to, and I do feel really guilty in the last year. I feel like I haven't been there as much as I could be for people.
Same.
Because I feel like I've done a decent job, but I definitely want to continue to improve on that.
Yeah.
But
another thing that we talk about.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, but we genuinely love and care so deeply about every single person and every single individual that's been a part of our life, we love to see the wins. We love to see, even if we don't talk, we know what you're up to, and we know how we are so proud and so happy to see you out there, like living your best life. And nothing makes me more happy than to see those kind of things. And I feel like you and I are one of the most lucky people in the world to have the people that, and that's another reason I was just crying, because I was like, man, this is so nice, but also we have such great people. How are we so blessed with so many people?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you how much that means to us. And like, the part that I love about social media is the fact that we can help each other get through life, that we can learn from one another, that we can make each other laugh and smile through the hard times. And that's why we love making such funny videos and making people laugh and smile, is because on the days that life is just kicking you in the ass, we want to help you smile and chuckle a little bit because of, a little humor. Because guess what? We're struggling just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be authentic. We want to hopefully help you not feel so alone in your own battles and your own struggles. And we want to open up a little bit more, although it's extremely hard. And the reason we even wanted to have this conversation, again, like, we're not going to be able to hit on everything, and this is going to be a continual learning process, but just to continue to build this community and hopefully just help one person. So, because these, I mean, as tough as it has been, like, I find comfort in hearing other people's experiences. And I hope hopefully this doesn't make it worse. Hopefully it helped a little bit.
Social media, I said this earlier in the podcast, there's so much good in social media. There's so much opportunity for good. And it's there. A lot of people use it for good. And we do a lot of good things. You guys listening, watching, you do a lot of good things. The shares, the comments, for us, like, you don't know how impactful those are to us. So there's a lot of good in social media. And I think that what I would ask of, you guys watching this is to remember that and focus on that. When you see you see something negative on social media, you see something maybe you don't agree with, or something that is, whatever it is, it triggers you. Like, let that shit go. Mm-hmm. Go every negative comment you see, go leave a positive comment. Mm-hmm. Go do something good. Go do something good in the real world too. And, that's something that, going back to, I guess my final words here, like, something that all of the people that I've lost that I remember and think about often, the one thing that they all have extremely in common is they were just incredible humans. They were good.
Even if it's inconvenient, make sure to let people know that you love them. Let them know what you love about them. Make them feel special. Do something great for somebody, even if you don't know them, like the cards, my mom got for her birthday. And take more action and focus on making more of an impact. And that's what we do. Yeah. And that's something that we will continue to focus on. And I hope this was helpful. I know this is not as silly and goofy. We'll make a silly and goofy video for next week just to make it a little bit more lighthearted and fun. But this is just something we've been dealing with a lot lately. We're,
just want to be transparent.
Yeah, we just want to be real. And this is something that we've just been going through, and it's just part of life. And I hope that it was helpful for somebody.
We love you guys.
Yeah, love you guys. And we'll catch you in the next one.